like that hype cycle died down and it was, unceremonious, and then we started a new hype cycle for this Nintendo Online, which I'm included in this, right? Like, I think this is interesting, this is neat, but like there is like an irony there, right?
I'm of the belief it's going to be so mundane of what this actually is. We can speculate, but
will it be an alarm clock, Cary? Because I don't know if it could be that bad. Welcome back to the NerdNest podcast, everybody. I'm Bill, and I'm joined today by the whole crew. We got Russ, we got Cary. Cary's dancing. What are you doing, Cary?
A little bit of something.
A little bit of something. Cary's always doing a little bit of something, and so is Rich down there. Didn't get a chance to introduce him, but we've got a lot to talk about. Like, just before we started, Rich was saying this is jam-packed. So let's start with the news, and after we get done with the news, we'll talk about the games that we've been playing, and we've got a bunch of games to talk about. But I want to start off with the fact that, Valve is at PAX Australia, and they announced that they are bringing the Steam Deck to Australia. Finally, people have been... I know, people, like, every time I post something about the Steam Deck, there's always comments saying, it's not in Australia yet. And I'm like, I feel bad for them. I'm like, that sucks. It should be there, but it's not. Well, now it's going to be for 1,049 Australian dollars. I'm assuming that's like a regular conversion. I have no idea, but... so it's now in Australia. Rich, what do you think about that?
I think it's awesome. So yeah, if you remember, right, there was a developer stream before the Steam Deck launched, and that stream, this was from Valve, and it was intended for developers, right, to sort of like get to understand, do you need a dev kit, like just these common developer questions. And one of the questions that was asked was like, are you launching it elsewhere, like other than just the EU, US, UK, right? And the answer at the time was, we would like to. One of the places is, they mentioned Japan was one of the places, and then Australia was the other. And so, like, I think it was a year ago now, a year and a half ago now, where they were able to launch the Steam Deck LCD in Asia, so Japan, Korea, and a couple other places, and now finally we get Australia. And I think one of the big things, and they sort of revealed this in their interview with, I think it's Press Start. It looks like it's pressstart.com.au. They revealed that, this is not just for the Steam Deck. This is also for whatever future hardware may come, right? Like, they want to get this right so that they can sell future hardware in Australia too.
Yeah, and that's awesome. I'm happy that they're bringing it to more places. That's something I always hate it when, like, something is launched. When something launches and they're like, it's only in this region, and like, it's a thing that you want and you can't get your hands on it without taking a big risk and buying it third party, where you might get one that's not in such good shape, or paying way more than you should because you are importing it or something like that. I mean, I just did that this week with this thing, which is the Hori Pad Steam, or the whatever they call it. It's like the new Steam controller that Valve didn't make. And that's only available in Japan. So like it goes both directions, but more often than not, things come out here and then they don't come out other places. So I'm glad that it's now in Australia. What other places? I know that like, it's in Europe, it's in the US, like, where isn't the Steam Deck at this point? Do you know, Rich?
Yeah, so certainly LATAM, right? Like, as they say in sort of like industry, whatever. So Latin America, the number one comment I get all the time, even before Australia, was Brazil. And I know that there are like hurdles to launching any electronics hardware in Brazil. But also there are people there that are buying the Steam Deck, right? Like, one way or another, they're getting the Steam Deck. So, and so it would be good, I think, for Valve to be able to figure that out. And like, they clearly seem invested in hardware. Like, this isn't the first hardware they've released. It's the biggest, but I think they're going to go deeper into this hardware realm. So yeah, hopefully they figure out logistics for Latin America, as well as, like, I'm sure Africa as well. I'm sure they're thinking about all of that.
Does the new store in Australia also apply to, like, New Zealand?
Gosh, I'm not sure off the top of my head. Do you know, Rich?
No, I didn't see it. I didn't see anything about New Zealand in any of what I read.
So you guys know about the junk store, right?
The junk store?
Yeah, for Steam.
Yeah. The plugin.
Yeah. So the dude that made that, I've known him from like GPT Win 2 days, and I actually sent him a Steam Deck. Like he was like, "Can you buy me one and send it to me?" I was like, "Yeah, I got you, dude." But I had to send it to New Zealand like years ago, and from him getting that, then he made the junk store, and that's where that is today. So
which is launching on Steam apparently.
Yeah. Big news.
Can one of you guys explain what that is?
Yes. So Junk Store is currently a plugin that allows you to easily install games from non-Steam launchers. You know, there are a bunch of like plugins and applications for non-Steam games, but Junk Store is a popular one, and it's a really easy one where I believe you can now just install games from inside of gaming mode, so you never have to leave the gaming mode to go to desktop mode to install games.
So you get it from Steam, and then you do everything in game mode, buy it from Steam, do all the things from Steam, all easy.
Yeah. So the Steam store page for Junk Store popped up in the last 24 hours, I want to say. So this Junk Store is now launching on Steam. I'm still researching this topic for my next video, but like my understanding is that this is going to be a paid app, I want to say. I don't know if anyone's heard.
I would assume so, because he also has like a Patreon and he's in some other stuff. But I mean, it's also like, I don't know how much he's going to charge for it. But it's like one of those things, like a utility that I just buy. Like I bought Lossless Scaling before Lossless Scaling was actually good. Like when I say actually good, like I mean it had like all the features, right? I got Lossless Scaling just for integer scaling. Like literally, I was like, oh, it has integer scaling. I don't have to muck around with doing nonsense. I'll get it.
Right.
Here's $6. Thank you so much for just like, it was just a really great thing. So that's like along the lines of like, I think a lot of people want something like that.
Yeah.
They don't want to go to the desktop mode. They don't want to do a bunch of things, follow a bunch of stuff, use the, whatever controls you have on there to muck around with like a virtual keyboard and stuff.
And for what it's worth, I think I support that, right? Like I think you should charge a little something for it.
Yeah.
It's a service.
So, exactly. So I look forward to it, and I'll certainly be buying that one.
Yeah, I'm reading about it right now, and so they have like so it is engineered for game mode. So specifically, you won't have to go into desktop mode. It allows you to navigate through and manage your games for both Epic and GOG. It's already integrated into it, and also it'll bring up the QAM, like you can bring the button up to adjust things like FPS and stuff. So yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah,
and will you be able to hit the Steam button and then do Steam input stuff?
So all of this is
it's launching the game. Yeah,
it's all inside of game
awesome.
mode. Yeah, so
I just added it to my wish list.
I had asked him. I was like, do you support AWS games right now? Because I've been redeeming so many Prime games through like whatever, and I'm like, geez, he's like, not yet, but that's going to be planned. He has like this functionality that is like a foundational thing that can hook into a bunch of different things. And he said, hopefully when that gets soon, I'll be able to do a lot of things far easier. So it's like another one of the reasons why, like, it should be a paid app, because there's going to be future support for other stuff that you're going to want. And then, there's also people that, like, not even just GOG from going to the online store, but people do prefer buying things from GOG and, like, literally downloading the game and having it themselves as, like, I own this game, it's here. If GOG goes away, I bought it and I own it and it's here. So I was like, can you have like, can you point to a NAS of GOG games to like install there? And he's working on that as well. So there's like a lot of features that are still coming in the pipeline, but it has Epic and GOG support as it is. And I think Epic is probably one of the ones that a lot more people want, just because it's like free games galore from that place. So, it's like, if you don't really have to use Epic's launcher and it's easy to do on your Steam Deck, it's like, I'll just take your free games. I'll just press a button over there every now and again. Exciting stuff.
The thing about this that is interesting to me is, you mentioned GOG. I think for people who are using the Steam Deck, this could cause a lot of people to use GOG more, especially because that new California legislation that says that you have to say you don't own your games, and You're just buying a license. Steam just updated their interface to say you don't own your games. You're buying a license, and that's not their fault. They have to follow the law, and that's literally how it goes. But with GOG, you are buying the game. You do own the game. There's no DRM, and they like you can just download it and run it whenever you want. And so I think that a lot of people are going to be on the Steam Deck if they have junk store. If they have junk store, trash store. I feel bad now. If they have junk store, they can buy their games on GOG, the same ones that they might buy on Steam, but no DRM. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah. There's also people that just have a large GOG library from previous times.
Yeah, me too. That's what I got.
Yeah.
You got a lot of games on GOG?
I've got a good 100 at least, and I rebought most of them on Steam during a sale, you know what I mean? Just because of the convenience factor of the Steam Deck in particular. And so, yeah, there are still some that I held off and didn't buy. Maybe I'll use that instead.
Yeah. The guy who made it, his Discord handle's Junk Runner.
I think he sent me messages.
Yeah, he's been on the GPD Discord since the old days, so he's like an OG as well. And the dude's funny. He's like semi-retired, and he's been living on a boat in New Zealand forever now. And we always just joke around with him, like, "How's the boat? What's going on over there?" So yeah, it's pretty funny.
That's awesome.
But he's always been someone who's wanted to game, but he is very conscious about power, right? Because he's on a battery on a boat. And so he needs something that's low power but good enough. So he's been pretty big on this whole segment.
It's funny. Yeah, you told me it's Junk Runner. I have a whole history of DMs where we've talked about it, and we've actually shown it to me before, and I just forgot about it because I don't remember things that I don't spend a lot of time with. Like, just went right past me. But Junk Store, check it out. Add it to your wish list. That sounds really cool. And if you're in Australia, I'm very curious if you're picking up the Steam Deck for 1,000 something Australian dollars. I think it's great that it's in more places, and it's important that we get that. It kind of cements that Valve is very serious about hardware. Do you guys think like it's getting to the point where, like, are you guys ready for the next Steam Deck to come out? And like people in Australia just got access to this one. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, what do you think, Cary?
So, like, this is something that I'm super passionate about. And, if I had my druthers, I would go, like, all out. And everywhere I go, I'm always just, like, push it to the limit, make custom silicon, give us a big GPU, give us all this stuff. So it's, like, always, there is, it's, there's that Osborne effect, right? Where Osborne announced their next thing while they sell their certain things. So everyone just waited and then didn't buy anything from Osborne, and then they went bankrupt. The Osborne effect is like people are always on the fence and going, well, if I just, like, I got someone literally on Twitter always like, well, what about Strix Point versus Ally X? And I'm like, I don't know of any Strix Point handhelds coming out anytime soon. You've asked me this like months ago. You probably should have just got the Ally X by now. So there's like this, give and take of like, what do you want to do? And if Australia is just getting it now, just get the OLED now. I'm sure it's going to be a good value. You can always wait a little bit. You can always resell it. Always waiting for the next generation is a problem because, you kind of put yourself at a standstill. So yeah, it's probably not the best time to do it, but also, I wouldn't wait too long as well. Like, if you really want it, just get it.
Can I chime in on this?
I'm with you.
I was hoping you would because you're the expert on so many devices.
So I would say that it's like almost like the inverse of that is that I think it's the perfect time to buy a Steam Deck because all of the bugs have been worked out at this point. It is what they envisioned when they first had it came. Like we all got it in the early days where we had all sorts of issues and junk, and that isn't happening anymore. You just start up the thing and start messing around with it, and it's amazing. And so I don't even know why I'm saying this, but like I messed around with my Switch over the past couple of weeks because I got a new controller for it. And I kept thinking to myself, this thing is perfect now. Like now is the time to buy a Nintendo Switch. I get that there's a Switch 2 coming out and stuff, but you can do so much with a Switch right now. And there's so many games already out for it. And I feel like the Steam Deck is like that too, because sure, upcoming games might have issues coming out, but what you can play right now for what you can get is pretty amazing. And so I almost feel like it's almost the perfect time to get a Steam Deck, as long as you're not trying to be Cary on the cusp of the next big thing. Because I think what it does is amazing.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I agree, except for the Switch part. Don't buy a Nintendo Switch. Good God, that thing is 8 years old at this point. Don't do it.
Man, I love my Switch Lite though. Oh, it's so good. Anyway,
it had legs, man. And even when it came out new, it was already old.
It was.
right.
Yeah, they really extended the lifespan. Devs really did a good job on there.
Yeah.
Well, we brought up. Oh, go ahead, Rich.
Well, I was going to say I'm with both of you guys, right? And like we spend, certainly us, but I think also our audience, like a lot of us folks, we're going to spend time. We may play the newer games, but like so much, like 90+% of my time is not on newer games, right? It's on games that work great on the Steam Deck, and I never even have to think about it. One more thing I was going to say too is about this is, you're talking about the improvements that Valve have made. One of the things that I did not catch in that press start interview,
yes,
you saw it, is that they said that Valve
15%.
said, they're improving battery life of the Steam Deck LCD by 10 to 15% with the upcoming 3.6 update.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
how are they doing that?
There's only a few ways that they can do that. So I don't know if you guys remember the old video that I did when the Steam Deck OLED came out, where the power ratio on the Steam Deck OLED and LCD is exactly the same. It's basically 45-55, meaning it will boost itself over its TDP for 45% of the time up to a certain limit. On the LCD, that went up to like 28 watts. On the OLED, it was pretty much at 22 watts. So they dialed that back a whole bunch. There was this real hard wall. And it was at every watt. So if you were to put Steam Deck OLED at 5 watt versus the Steam Deck LCD at 5 watt, the LCD would just get way better performance. People are like, what's going on here? You were using more power on the Steam Deck LCD on 5 watt because of how it's working. So one of the ways that you can do that is literally just align Steam Deck LCD with the Steam Deck OLED, and you create the same paradigm. That means that the Steam Deck LCD would effectively get slightly worse performance. If they're getting 15% better battery life, it would also apply to the OLED, right? It's not going to just apply to the LCD unless you're messing around with power some way. There's no, hidden gotcha. There's no super awesome thing unless it's very, very specific scenarios. There's no magic sauce, right? You're really just tuning whatever the hardware's doing. Whatever that becomes, I'll take a look at it and see what it is. But the only thing I could assume at the beginning is that it's applying the Steam Deck OLED power profile to the LCD.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to read this article because Rich, you put it in like 15 seconds before we hit record. So
yep.
That's an absolutely massive thing to get that big of a change, especially you've got the ROG Ally X, which has that 80 watt hour battery. Having a 15% boost to battery life on the LCD deck, that's pretty significant. I think that's a huge story.
Yeah.
Russ brought up Nintendo Switch, so we might as well talk about Nintendo Switch Online's this weird playtest that Nintendo is doing, and they've said, hey, don't tell anybody about what's going on. But specifically, they say, we request that you do not discuss or disclose content from either the Nintendo Switch Online playtest program, test software, or website it with others. So first off, before we hit this story, did anybody get in?
I didn't.
No.
I'm not in the Uber online tier. I'm on the peasant tier.
Okay, so nobody here knows what this is about?
No.
Okay,
Before
good. That means we
this,
can speculate. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Before we get into this, did no one speak of like the irony of the hype cycle? I know we said we shouldn't talk about Alarmo until later, but like, isn't it like so ironic that we had like this FCC thing and people speculated about it for weeks, and the day that we find out what it is, which is the Nintendo Alarmo, then we like that hype cycle died down and it was, unceremonious, and then we started a new hype cycle for this Nintendo Online, which I'm included in this, right? Like, I think this is interesting, this is neat, but like there is like an irony there, right?
I'm of the belief it's going to be so mundane of what this actually is. We can speculate. But,
Will it be an alarm clock, Cary? Because I don't know if it could be that bad.
Wario's tweet was the funniest thing. I didn't expect that, and that got me a good chuckle. Because when because Alarmo was announced first, and then this playtest was announced later, and he was like, the playtest is happening at 11 a.m. 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 a.m. Pacific Standard, whatever that is. And he's like, don't forget to set your alarmo. And I was like, that's pretty good.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
All right. So before we talk about this story, I guess we should talk about Alarmo, since some people might be in the dark and they're like, what the hell is Alarmo? Rich, you want to hit that?
I don't feel like I have a. So, yeah.
It's so
Someone
stupid.
else tell me, what is the Alarmo?
Isn't it just like a Nintendo clock?
It's a Nintendo clock that is $100 for
And
some
it
reason.
doesn't have a charger. It just has a cable. So
Right.
you need a... yeah.
Well, I mean, it's an
it's sold
alarm
out
clock.
everywhere.
First off, it's sold out because it's Nintendo. I think it's fine that it doesn't have batteries, because it's it's an alarm clock. It just sits there. It's got this little thing on top that you turn and you can select what game it's going to play sounds from. And I don't know, if my kids were young, then I would be like, oh, that might be kind of cool, a different way to get their asses out of bed in the morning. But
It's not $100 cool.
it's not $100 cool. I like that they kind of stuck with the amiibo thing, and this is what I would do if I were Nintendo. I would say it's got NFC in there and it's amiibo compatible, and if you want to, like, this is going to get your ass out of bed. It goes off and it won't stop going off until you grab the right amiibo and tap it to it. So that'll make you actually wake up and be aware of the world before you can stop the sound.
That's actually genius.
The funny thing is, for me, is that I have two thoughts about it. Number one is that it looks very Disney, like a Mickey Mouse to me, because it's the red and the black and the white, and even the white will turn yellow, which is again like Mickey's buttons, and so it just looks very like Mickey Mouse to like Disney as opposed to Nintendo, other than obviously the Nintendo font and stuff like that. The other thing is, I think that actually $100 is probably pretty smart, because it's in that gift territory where, like, Christmas time, you get your husband like, oh, he loves Mario, I'm gonna get him this thing, $100. Like, it just, that's where I kind of see it. I don't see myself spending $100 on it, but if someone got it for me, I'd be like, oh yeah, it's kind of neat, thank you.
If anybody in my family's watching this, do not get that thing for me.
Yeah.
I just use my phone to wake up.
I heard it doesn't work when there's more than one person in the bedroom. I don't know why. I just saw some random tweet about this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, right,
So,
because it's got like a because when there was like the hype cycle that you were talking about, Rich, there was something about like 24 gigahertz, and everybody was like, wait, is that a 2.4 gigahertz? Like, did they forget to put a decimal there? And it's there, so like it detects when you're moving. So like if the alarm goes off and then you get up, it goes like, it does Mario coin sounds like, hey, good job, or whatever, which is cool. It's neat.
Yeah.
I don't want it.
But yeah, that makes sense. So the motion sensing aspect of it is, designed for like a single person.
Yeah.
Which also, yeah, probably kids, which $100 is even steeper for a child, but
Yeah. It's like this weird bracket of what in the world is going on. Like, even like Spencer's wouldn't sell this thing. Like,
Right.
I don't know, man.
But
strange.
Nintendo can.
Well, they did.
yeah.
They certainly did. I'm telling you, there's that guy. They have that guy, and he knows exactly how many he's going to sell, up to the point where it sells out, and then everyone gets FOMO. He's the FOMO master, and that's Chief FOMO. That's all he does. He's just Chief of FOMO. COF.
COF. All right, so that hype cycle died down, and then, as you were saying, Rich, we went back up on the next hype cycle of this weird Nintendo Switch online playtest program. Now, the last time that something like this happened, I believe it was Nintendo's Switch Sports. Like, they had a beta test, and they had a thing that said you're not allowed to talk about this. So, like, I was in the beta, and I was like, oh, cool, I'm going to make a video. And then I started it up, and it said, you can't make a video about this. I was like, well, okay, well, then I don't really care. What am I going to do? Like, I just wanted to make a video because I like the sports games.
Yeah.
And I'll just wait until it comes out. So I ended up deleting it. I think I did try it a little bit, and then I never tried it again. But what do you guys think this is? Russ, I'm going to have you start us off. Do you have any speculation, since none of us actually know?
I haven't paid too much attention to it, but I'm assuming that it has, I don't know. Like my first thought was that maybe it's some sort of like backwards compatibility thing, like there's some sort of multiplayer aspect within like Nintendo 64 games or something. You know what I mean? Like that you could play with your friends in the original Mario Kart 64 or something. I don't know. I honestly didn't pay much attention to it, and yeah, I don't know.
So there's a Twitter account, Toad's Anime, Ryan T. Brown. He gave some good guesses as to what it could be. He said new virtual console, right? Miiverse, Street Pass. My personal favorite is achievement system. I think that's my personal favorite because it seems like the likeliest. And then some sort of Switch 2 prep. I think one thing I'll say is that it has to be at least a little bit uninteresting. Like they have to trust that people will not break this sort of unofficial NDA, or that people will break it and it's not that big of a deal. Like I don't think it's on the verge of like a Switch 2, but I think it would be a feature that could be used in a Switch 2, like achievements, right? Like something like that.
Mm-hmm. I think achievements makes a lot of sense. Street Pass, I don't think that makes sense at all, only because there'd have to be a chip that's already in the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
And like everybody, like a bunch of people have taken the Switch apart and nobody has said, hey, what the hell is that chip?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we would have known about it at that point. If it was Street Pass, I would be like, heck yeah, that's freaking cool. Like, did you guys ever watch the video that I think Nintendo Life did? Xeon Grassley, who I actually met in I went to New York City with my wife and my son, and we met up with Bob Wolf and Xeon, and we kind of just went around shopping, and Bob showed us around. And Xeon has this video where he spent a year working on the video in order to like get people to do Street Pass stuff. And so he would go to cons and people would like all try and get their Street Pass stuff. Have you guys seen that video?
Yeah. No, but I'd like to. So I'll watch that.
It's very cool. Street Pass is a very cool idea for a handheld device. And for Nintendo to just throw that in the garbage after the 3DS was just like, why would you do that? It's so cool. All right,
Nintendo.
So, yeah, that's true. So Rich gave some ideas. Cary, what do you think?
I think so. I would love if it was achievements. I really would. I think Nintendo should do it just because it would also be like it would curb piracy stuff. Because typically when you pirate games, you're not in that whole achievement ecosystem. You want to like do stuff. So I think it would just behoove them generally to do it. While I would like it as well. I think it's something super mundane and something that is laughable as it exists right now, and that's getting a voice to work over online instead of having to use your phone, which you have to do now. So they would just be like, hey, you know what's dumb and we should not do anymore? Let's not have people calling each other when they want to play multiplayer games. How about we just, use the device itself? I know, crazy. Let's not go too far here. But yeah, that's what I think it is, especially because it's like an online only thing, and they're doing some testing. So I would think it's that. There's a lot of good guesses that you guys have said as well. It could just be literally like N64, some weirdo mode that you're playing, that type of stuff. Yeah, I could see it. I just don't think it's going to be. Someone's going to leak it, and people are going to be like, oh, that's Alarmo 2.0.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the idea of it being voiced because I've used the stupid Nintendo Switch voice app once, and it was such a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
It was not fun. What were you saying?
I was just going to say that I think this will be leaked like within an hour of it actually going open. You know what I mean? Like, I think that it's just going to get out there. The thing that's going to be very interesting is people doing like fake leaks. Like, hey, I did the thing, and guess what? It is free GameCube games for everybody. Like those are the ones that will be very interesting.
Non-stop GameCube.
It's Nintendo coming to Steam.
Right. Geez. Yeah. Let us know in the comments down below your most ridiculous prediction for this, like the most ridiculous fake leak that you could come up with for this. And this actually starts on the 23rd of October. So, you know, we got like a couple weeks before it actually happens. So, let us know what you guys think. All right, moving on. Next, I think I want to talk about this thing. This is the Hori Pad Steam, which is the new Steam controller. I know it's not a Steam controller because it's not made by Valve, but it's licensed by Valve. It's got Valve's name all over it. Like even the dongle, the Bluetooth dongle that it comes with has Valve's logo on it. So it's definitely, I mean, Valve had a hand in this. And I put out a video yesterday, and boy, oh boy, we're recording this on Friday, by the way. Boy, oh boy, this thing is disappointing. Rich, before we started recording, you said this controller is for me, and then you were going to say more, and then you said, "Oh, I'll just wait for the show." So, What did you mean by that?
Yeah. So first, I've seen the impressions, including your video, which was really, really good and well done. And so, like, I already know sort of the build quality. You can feel it, right? It's not great. The throw on here is pretty small. So there's a lot that's not going for it. And I suspect that it's going to be something that I do not recommend for 99.99% of people. The reason it's for me is because it has the one feature that nothing has other than the Steam Deck, the capacitive touch sticks. And I use gyro both primarily with flick stick, right? So I'm on the analog. So I no longer use the trackpads. The main reason I was using the trackpads on the Steam Deck was for first person shooters. But I no longer play first person shooters with trackpads. I play them with the analog sticks using flick stick. And so my thumbs are basically always on the analog sticks, except when I'm like reorienting myself in a first person shooter. So this is perfect for me. I don't think I'm going to have like a high recommendation for this, but it's something that only I would really be interested in, I think.
What do you think of the D-pad?
It feels really weird and bad.
It hurts.
I don't know how it actually works yet, but I don't like the way it feels.
It hurts your thumb. Like I was playing Street Fighter 6 on this thing, and my thumb, I was playing it for 5 minutes, and my thumb hurt from just trying Hadokens, and I'm not even going to try and say it because I screwed it up so many times in my video.
That's crazy. It really because
hurts.
Hori is known for fighting games mostly.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And their D-pads are usually very good. And so that is kind of crazy that it's not a good fit.
Well, it is very responsive and works very well, but it hurts. Like, that's the thing. It also doesn't pass the Contra test very well. But I always find that whichever ones are good at fighting games are usually bad at Contra and vice versa. This one is very good at fighting games, but it's sharp on your thumb, and it just is very fatiguing over time. But I was nailing, more than any other controller, I was nailing the fireballs and the dragon punches almost every time, and I suck at that. So that made it really good for that, but I wouldn't play it for any length of time because it would hurt my thumb.
Good to know.
It's interesting. Yeah, so D-pads have always been like very specific to me. I've often voiced that I'm a big dome-based D-pad fan, not just because it's clicky, but there are differences to different, like they have different types of styles. But typically when my thumb hurts, I get it more from mushy D-pads, meaning that I have to like push hard just to get the direction that I want. So it's just like this fatigue that I build up out of mushy D-pads. I've never had a hard like material like dig into me where I'm like, ow, this is so painful. Usually I typically like D-pads that you only need to feather, which is why I also like dome-based D-pads. You just like lightly tap on them. But yeah, there's a special science to D-pads, and that's unfortunate to hear.
Rich, do you think if you're pushing on the D-pad with your thumb right now, do you feel like, okay, I can see why it would hurt?
I can. It's going to take actually like playing with Street Fighter to see how it actually feels, but I can feel that. I think it's a weird combination of like soft and hard where I don't know, it if I can roll over, like kind of like Cary's saying, if I can just like feather it, then it might be fine. But I have had problems with like Vita controls, which are good controls, but those that D-pad is very like hard plastic. Yeah.
Powkitty used to make very sharp D-pads. That was the ones that were the worst. But Cary, I don't think you really cover Powkitty at all, and so you may not have experienced those. But yeah, they're pretty rough.
I stopped covering Powkitty like 6 years ago. I did something that they had, and like, these are just junk. Like, screw this. Like, I'm not even touching this company anymore. No, I don't cover them anymore.
So they also have these buttons on the back. The extra buttons that are on the back of the controller, perfect. They are absolutely perfect. I wish that there were 4 of them. Not for me, because I will usually only use 2. But they moved the other 2 to the front, just underneath the thumbsticks, which I use for activators, so I can do like mode shifts in Steam Input. It's really good for that. But if you don't ever, like if you're rich and you want to leave your thumb on the stick the whole time and not want to take your thumb off to hit ABXY, then you want to have those extra buttons on the back so you can use them with your fingers. Are you, Rich, are you a 4 back button person or just 2? Like I only ever use 2.
Yeah, for the shooters, I try to use all 4. It's not like muscle memory yet. I'm still like working on it, but that's what I'm trying to get used to because of exactly what you said, right? Like even more so than the trackpad somehow, I feel like I guess because of the gyro, right? When I'm doing flick stick, I feel like I need to keep my thumbs at the analog stick. So trying to actually use the face buttons doesn't often work out. I think for most shooters, like all you really need is like jump and reload. So maybe that'll work fine. Plus, you can click in the thumbstick, things like that. You have some options. But yeah, I think 4 would have been better for me.
Yeah. The thing that this, and I'll let Cary go in just a second. The thing that this reminded me of, because I was making my video and I was like, oh, I wonder if I can still do a joystick version of an on-screen menu, and yes, you can. And it just reminded me how freaking amazing Steam Input is. What were you going to say, Cary?
Isn't this the worst when it comes to like non-traditional? Like, when they added shoulder buttons, I acclimated to that just fine. But it's probably because like when I type on a keyboard, I'm only ever using like 4 fingers. I never went to typing class, right? So I just very organic type of typer, and I think I'm like a very organic type of game controller kind of guy. So when, the 4 back buttons, I never wind up using them. I only ever use 2 at any given moment. Sometimes I'll get them going, but even like, I know gyro is better. I know it deep in my heart that gyro is superior, but my brain just refuses. There's like all these things that I see on controllers. Like whenever I like back paddles, I'm like, whatever, okay. That'll be some ancillary function that'll make that do something. But I never ever think of getting a back button and be like, oh, thank goodness, now I'll be able to do X, Y, or Z. If anything, it's just mimicking another button that might have been a face button, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's the only thing that my brain is like, well, when I'm using the right analog stick, it would be better if I could just use my ring finger. So okay, I can wrap my head around that. But like, if I'm just mapping, B to the back button and they're the same button, I don't know. I feel like I'm missing something fundamentally with the extraness of it, right? Between gyro and the back buttons and capacitive ones. When Rich is saying I need those capacitive things, I'm like, oh, I hated the capacitive. Like whenever my finger was on it and it just like started moving around, I'm like, nope, disable, no more of that. But yeah, I don't know. I gotta just use it more. I just gotta like use it, I guess. I'm the worst.
You have to force yourself into it. So just like Rich was saying, he's working on his muscle memory because he uses flick stick. I beat Astrobot a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if I talked about it on the show, but one of the things that helped me was I have the DualSense Edge controller for my PS5, and it has the back paddles, and there's only 2 buttons in that game. So I put those on the back paddles, and it made it so that my right thumb never had to come off of the camera control, which on a 3D platformer makes it so much easier to see where you're going to land when you're playing. And so especially on those levels, the really hard levels where you're playing on they're themed after the square X, circle, triangle. Don't yell at me, PlayStation people. I know it's a cross, whatever. When you're playing on the levels that are inspired by that, and the difficulty ramps up on that game.
Oh yeah.
I was having a hard time with the face buttons, but when I switched over to the back paddles and I could just always control the camera, made it so much easier. How long have you been practicing flick stick, Rich?
So there's a gyro developer at Valve. I think he may be freelance contractor, but either way, his name is Obs, right? And he tweets on Twitter a bunch. And so recently, since the Steam Deck came out, so I want to say about 2 years ago, he has been doing the work to re-implement flick stick on Steam and Steam Input. So there was an implementation prior to that, but it wasn't quite as good. So most people would recommend, I think it's Joy to Key, and maybe its implementation of flick stick. I forget which one it was. But either way, once OBS implemented it in Steam, it's been a lot better. So it's been, I would say, 2 years now, and I'm still not like I see people that like pretty much have been playing gyro the whole time and I'm not at their level, right? Like I cannot play. I would not play.
Super nasty.
Super nasty. So I would not play like an online shooter with gyro, and I still can't get to the point where I play something like Ultra Kill, which is like boomer shooter meets Devil May Cry. I still can't play that with gyro, but I can play old school retro shooter just fine with gyro. And so I've been playing, Doom, even the like more advanced stuff, like the latest campaign. I've been playing that with flick stick pretty much just fine, but that's where it's at.
Very cool. Yeah. Cary, I saw this story and I thought of you. Halo's future is Unreal Engine game.
Oh yeah.
343 Studios has been renamed to Halo Studios. And they're ditching their proprietary engine that they used on what I will say, and I know that Cary agrees with me, Halo Infinite. Awesome game.
Yeah.
Mired by people who, like you call it, the Chuck E. Cheeseification. It's a really, really good game, and not enough people played it, and it's too bad because it's fun. But they're ditching that engine, and they're going to now move to Unreal. And you said you're not sure how you feel about that. Talk about that.
So I'm a huge Halo fan. Like I've always been a Halo fan. You can see all my stuff back there. When Halo 1 came out on the Xbox, like I got an Xbox. I'm like, let me get an Xbox because I always bought all the new consoles. When I played Halo, I loved Halo. And when I played with my buddies, I was like, this is GoldenEye 2.0. Because me and my buddies used to play multiplayer GoldenEye all the live long day. And then Halo multiplayer felt so good. And then GameSpy came out and like all this other. It was just fantastic. And then when Halo 2 came out, it became the gold standard for like console online gaming for their like lobby system that they had and all the other stuff. Yeah. So I have been a hardcore Halo fan, and I like really loved everything they did. Halo 3, when that came out, I started like, got married, started having kids. So I started like going away at that point. I wasn't heavy in multiplayer. And I've always liked Halo. And then when Halo 5 came out, it was like Halo 4 was really good. I played the campaign, and that was just a really good looker on the 360. Like it was a fantastic showpiece for the 360 itself. Halo 5, I didn't play at all, and I played a little bit. I've always played on Legendary in the campaign, and I stopped playing. I should really get back to it. But it's like, you play Halo Reach, ODST, and all the other Halo Wars. Just a big Halo fan, and once the Bungie left and everything was there, you read all the stories and I don't know what's going on, but I believe it, where there's just a bunch of stuff that just doesn't make any sense. Like they will only hire a freelancer up to 18 months and then no more. So it's like, it takes them 6 months just to get up to speed. So now 12 months later, they have to do anything. And then, all that stuff you learned, go away. We don't want you here anymore. And I don't know where this comes from or how that works, but it's disappointing to hear. And I would assume that they're moving over to Unreal Engine just so that they could get people on track faster with their weirdo freelance system that they have set up. So I don't know, man. Like it really, they used the Bungie engine, the Halo Reach engine for Halo Infinite. They called it Slipstream and has all the other stuff. And everything that is there gameplay wise is tuned up, and it's so good. So my worry is when they go over to Unreal Engine 5, are they going to be able to mimic that play style or that gunplay? Because it is like really dialed in. So that is the largest concern that I have over there is the Halo feel. Is that going to translate?
So I think you got a perfect answer already, though, for that. 18-month freelance Bungie to do the gameplay feel and just have them do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just hire them. Yeah, dude, I don't know. It's very bittersweet. You look at what happened with the Fallout TV series, and Todd Howard's like, no, it's going to be canon to the series, and we're going to treat this with respect. And then the Halo TV series is like, no, we don't care about whatever happened in the video game. In fact, this is just called Silver Team. They're not Blue Team anymore. All those characters that you read in the book also doesn't matter. And we're just going to do a bunch of different things. And the core audience that would like this probably is not going to like this. And people that don't care probably won't care about it either. So it's going to get canceled in 2 years. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to do. We're just going to burn everything to the ground. We really love what they did in Game of Thrones Season 8. That whole thing about just really trashing a series and getting people to hate it. We're going to follow that methodology. We just want to burn Halo to the ground. And that's all I feel about that. Like, I just look at it and it's like, what are you guys doing over there? It is atrocious. And, I'm not happy about a lot of things, Halo-wise. I loved Halo Infinite, but I'm not happy with any of the direction of anything that they've done elsewise. So I'm not optimistic.
You're
muted.
Oh, Bill, you're muted.
Thanks, guys. Here's my question for you then, Cary. One of the things that was a huge disappointment with Halo Infinite was the fact that you couldn't do co-op. Like, that's the thing that a lot of people, they've been playing it since the first Halo, and then they would sit down with their friend, split screen TV, go through the world together, beat the story that way. And then Halo Infinite came and they were like, well, that's coming later. And then it never came. And I don't know, but maybe it's because they just couldn't get it to work with this engine. So let's imagine for a second that the gunplay will feel similar to the previous Halo games. If moving to this new engine means that you get back to that co-op, are you sold?
So you're asking the wrong person this, because I played my big Halos were Halo 1 and Halo 2, and Halo 3, which had the online co-op, the 4-player online co-op. I played through, but I actually hated the online co-op for it because it removed all of the difficulty from it. The legendary difficulty mattered nothing at all in co-op. So I'm more of like a Halo snob in this situation where I feel like legendary is a single player only affair. That's just me. I do like the idea of playing co-op, and I've had a lot of fun playing Halo co-op, the campaign, but it's more about just palling around rather than appreciating the AI that Halo really did very well, even back to the first one. And even like there was lots of times that even Halo 2 on Legendary was terribly difficult. So you feel a sense of accomplishment and pride when you do that. That's a snobby type of thing to say, but so even like Forge mode, again, I didn't play Halo 3 all that much in multiplayer, and I know that there's a lot of people that probably loved Halo online co-op and loved Forge mode from Halo 3.
I loved Forge. Yeah.
So seeing Halo Infinite not have co-op and not have Forge is like all the Halo 3 people felt like they got slighted. And I get that. I get it. So, I mean, for me, I think Forge mode is probably higher on the list than co-op, only because you look at user-generated content being such a big thing for every goddamn thing. I think that just matters more. So it doesn't matter to me. I play it more just to like the feel of it, like the map balance and how everything else is just really tight and balanced. And when you're playing, I never really played Halo outside of when people were cheating, when they was like the standby, when people had cable modems, they would just stand by you and just kill you, or there was just really like legit cheating on Halo 2 where they were like, you were playing the Justice League. Like one guy was a Flash. Other guy was just flying around in a tank with infinite ammo. So when there's that cheating, obviously that's not fun. But when you're playing just a legit game, I never felt like I was, if I was killed, I was like, man, that guy was good. Or if I got them, I felt like it was the skill of it mattered to a high degree. So yeah, even like Lone Wolf, I loved Lone Wolf gameplay modes, like 1v1 or one versus like even the Lone Wolf mode that they have in Halo Infinite is a lot of fun, where it's like 20 of you and it's a free for all, but it's a free for all for 20 of you, and it's like the last man standing type of thing, and that's a lot of fun because it has that Lone Wolf type of feel to it. So again, I think Forge mode is more important. Online co-op is important. If they should get back to doing linear, because the open world in Halo Infinite wasn't good. It was like meandering and all over the place and kind of didn't matter. And all of the weird, like there were set pieces where you went against the main boss in certain places.
Mhm.
It really devalued those types of things because you never were getting to like a big set piece of like getting to it, right?
Yeah.
And maybe people don't like linear stuff, but I think one of Call of Duty's biggest strengths for their campaign is that it's guiding you through set pieces. That's what like Sony single player things do, right? They're guiding you through set pieces. And that's what people want. You're like, oh man, that's a huge boss. And it's like getting you through and you're doing flips and stuff. And, you know, that's the spectacle of it. That was diminished on Halo Infinite's open world. So, yeah, I think that they just got to come to return to roots. Hopefully they can build things faster. Maybe they just do like remakes, right? Like that's what people were doing. They're showing off the scene and they're like, this is Halo 3, the Unreal Engine 5 one. And they were just doing like a slide over of like old Halo 3, and you can kind of lined up a lot. So maybe they're just like remaking Halo 3 and Unreal Engine 5 to kind of get their bearings and see. So it'll be from that point of view, like if they're doing a Halo remake in Unreal Engine 5, I'm kind of okay with that insofar as let's test this out. Let's see what happens here. I do feel like I'm going to miss the old engine though.
One other change. Go ahead, Rich.
Well, I was going to say, I didn't expect to have like strong thoughts about this, but the more Cary talked, the more I do, right? So like I looked up the engine, the Halo engine. It's apparently called the Blam engine, right? And
Blam, yes, yeah.
And so it's not based off of, but it started way back with like Myth, right? And so it's something that they've been working on for some time and building for some time. And so, you know, we're losing a lot of that, right? Like, and we've already lost a lot of that with just fewer homegrown engines. And I think a lot of that is exactly what you're saying, where it's not just Bungie or Microsoft or 343 or whoever that has this like contract out resources and then drop those contracts as soon as the game is done, right? Like it's a very Western game development thing. It's not done as often in Japan, as I understand it, right? So
Yeah.
they have longer tenured developers. So we lose a lot of like this, we as in really them, right? Like the game companies lose a lot of like institutional knowledge, not just about engines, but about game development. So like the average experience of a game developer has been lower and lower, right? So like the average game developer has less experience now. I don't know if there's a study for this, and I don't have a source for this, but I've heard this. The average game developer has less experience now than they did 10 years ago, right? So I assume that's a big part of what they are actually doing here is to try to ramp people up quicker.
Right.
And I think like that sucks. That part sucks.
It
right?
does.
Like I don't care so much about the engine. If UE5 works for them, that's great. But I think this fact that we're losing institutional knowledge, and like these game developers are less and less experienced. I want them to get experienced up and not worry about losing their job and having to go to the next place where they can't just like grow this knowledge base of the company that they work at.
When you say they have less experience, do you mean that their experience is more limited? Because here's what I think that means. My reaction is games take a really long time to make. So somebody who's been working in the industry for 10 years at this point maybe has worked on 2 games. And 10 years ago, somebody who'd worked on 10 had been a developer for 10 years at that point had probably worked on way more than 2 games because games didn't take as long to make. Is that what you mean by that?
No, but that's a good point too. And I'll try to find a source for what I'm talking about so that we can have it for show notes. But my understanding is that people stay in game development because of how bad it is, like this, like contracting and losing jobs, they stay in game development for less amount of time. So they leave game development earlier.
Oh, they give up and they're like, screw this. I don't want to do this anymore.
Right. Because here's the thing. What we're primarily talking about are software engineers at game development companies. I'm a software engineer. I would make a lot less money if I worked at a game development company than what I do today. Yeah. So people that work software development, software engineering and game development companies are doing it because they enjoy video games. As soon as you take that away from them, they can get better opportunities elsewhere.
Yeah. This is endemic of a lot of things in the tech sector, not just the game industry itself. Lately, I've been seeing a lot of it. The company that I'm working for right now has a big problem with it. With interest rates being as high as they are, it's more expensive to borrow money, so they don't want to, increase payroll. There's lots of things that come down to where the accountants seemingly have all of the say for every company ever. And I feel like it's a penny wise, pound foolish type of thing, because they are not. I see it everywhere, and people are just, like, oh, well, we don't need that guy. He's only been there for 20 years. Anyone can do that job. And it's like, that dude knows about the magic switch somewhere, and you just got rid of that knowledge, and he's not going to help you when you ask him about it. And that's going to be a big problem. And there's like all this stuff that no one truly appreciates because they are oblivious to how much people need to know that institutional knowledge, that like what they have there. And it goes deeper than just even knowing where some of the cobwebs are inside of there. It's also just people being experienced enough to accelerate things or achieve something that is not achievable but from anybody else. So there's a lot of things where it really is unfortunate. You see, we're all like homogeneizing against Unreal Engine 5 because of the actions that they themselves have inflicted upon themselves. It's like you see someone just shooting themselves in the foot, and it's like, stop shooting yourself in the foot. And like, well, no, it's like the best thing ever. I need to get the metal foot so that everyone knows how to use metal feet, but then I can just keep shooting myself and I don't have to worry about it as much. Like, you're not fixing the right problem there, guy. Like, just stop shooting yourself in the foot, please. It's unfortunate, really.
Yeah, maybe I'm naive. I think that when we grew up, game companies were run by the devs, and now they're run by the accountants. And I think it's like that's why all it is. That's why things tend to go the wrong way. But to push back towards Halo, there's another big change coming to Halo. This third person mode. Russ.
Oh, right.
I'm curious what you think about the third person mode of Halo. A lot of people did it or like looked at it and they said, oh, that kind of looks like in Destiny, when you do some of your special moves,
grab your sword.
It looks very much like Destiny, or when you use your melee attacks. And I know you're a big Destiny guy. What do you think about Halo as a third-person game?
I'm not against it. I made a comment on Twitter about it that I feel like it looks a lot like Fortnite, and it almost feels like that's going that direction. I don't have any problem with it. I do just consider Halo to be a first-person game. It's immersive in that way. But they're mostly, I'm assuming, just talking about multiplayer, and I get it. I don't really play online multiplayer, and so I prefer, like, even if that option is available in Halo Infinite campaign, I would still prefer to just use first person. That's just kind of how I grew up. And I have, like with Cary, I got a strong connection with Halo. I bought an Xbox for Halo back in the day and whatnot. And I feel like Halo 3 is probably the best one for them to remake, because that's the most Halo of the Halos, if I was to pick one, and so that's the one I'd love to see more of. The Forge and all that stuff was amazing back in the day. I'm also a big fan of Halo 4, to be honest, though. That was like when I first got my hands on Halo 4, I was like, okay, I'm good with 343 taking over. Like this was good for me, because you could aim down the sights, which was a big thing for me at the time, and then also just it looked amazing, and it was a whole new storyline and whatnot. But yeah, I'm like with you guys, where I'm a little bit hesitant that we're losing the artistry of like Halo itself. Like you talk about games being made by game dev first, or built by game devs. I think that it's the artists. That's the big part of it, is that the game devs are artists. If I'm
yes.
me, as the way I look at it, and not so much a business. I mean, they had to do enough business to be able to release the game, but now it's a business where they hire the artists, and that's the distinguishing factor. And I think that happens with any realm of creativity. You know, it just becomes a business at some point. But some of those other people who hold on to the artistry usually succeed, and so that's the whole shooting yourself in the foot thing, I think.
And listen, one of my favorite things is looking at a smallish game development company that balances both, right? Like, I love when they figure it out. Platinum is my favorite example of watching them try to make this work, where they would put their muscle behind like these creative efforts like Bayonetta, Wonderful 101, but they would try to balance that out with like just good business decisions, like working with Square, working with Nintendo, and just doing licensed property for them. And so, like, you know, they were trying to balance I really want to make my art with, I also need money to support my employees. And that's one of my favorite things to watch. And so, like, I get the business part of it, but I just don't want any of these companies to lose sight of the art side of it. And by the way, I'm neither optimistic nor pessimistic about Halo's future. I'm willing to see where it goes. Cary just got me waxing poetical about like just where the state of game development is right now.
Yeah, you know, I think that this is a good reset. I think it is moving towards that artistry concept where they're like, you know what? We're going to go back to square one. We're going to rebrand. We're going to kind of try to take a new look at it and whatnot. Whether or not that was a decision made in a boardroom by business people, or if it was made by the artist, you know, saying, hey, do this or else, you know, like, we don't know. But I'm hoping it's the latter and not necessarily just a savvy business decision.
Ditto.
I will say that for me, I could not care less what engine Halo is made in. If this means that I get Halo games more often, then I'm all for it. I'm not like you guys. I missed all of the Halo games until Halo Infinite was coming out. And then I picked up Master Chief Collection and went back and played that. And I played the first one, and I played it in a weekend, and I was like, holy shit, this game is amazing. And that was that's the first Halo. I was blown away. I loved it. And then Halo Infinite came out, and I loved the open world aspect to it. And I also really enjoyed the multiplayer. I think that they nailed it with Halo Infinite, and I'm fine with them switching to some other engine if that means they can onboard people faster and churn out Halo games more often. Because, like, what was the time between Halo 5 and Halo Infinite?
Like 7-8 years, right? Something super long.
So it was a long
Yeah,
time.
I don't want to wait 7-8 years from Halo Infinite to the next Halo. I want it now because it was so good.
I agree. I think if this can help them improve their turnaround time without losing quality, then there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's they have like hurdles in front of them, and if they can clear that, that's great. And I'm willing to be not optimistic, but, you know, the balanced about that, neutral about that, open-minded about that, and just see where this lands. I think that with those hurdles, as long as they're just trying to balance that art and that business, because, you know, I see that Microsoft, this does feel like Microsoft is recognizing that Halo is important, clearly, to their legacy, right? And trying to get people on board. So that, to me, is one of the good signs about this piece of news.
Cary disagrees with you. He's shaking his head.
I do agree with you. Like, Halo is super important to Xbox, but they don't care. They don't like. Look what they did to it. Like, look what they did to my boy. Man, yeah, it's like, I don't know. Like, I am very pessimistic, and I would love to be like Russ and be like, you know, this is probably going to be good. Except, like, I talk with, what is Stalker 2, right? That's coming out soon. It's coming out next month or so, and that's in Unreal Engine 5. And I've been talking to someone that, like, is doing in there, and he's like, Unreal Engine 5.3 that just came out is still not good enough for actual game development. And I'm like, oh, that's not great. You know, like, hearing someone say that the latest version of Unreal Engine isn't good enough, and Unreal is the company, Epic, is focused more on Fortnite and the store than the actual engine at this point, because Fortnite is the cash cow. So they're not really paying attention to the engine. And I don't know, like I'm very pessimistic, and it kills me inside, because Microsoft done acquired every company ever, and they have id Tech engine, they have Blam, like, dude, they have so many game engines that are top tier, and they're just like, get rid of them all, go to Unreal Engine 5, the thing that we don't own. And like, goodness gracious,
I didn't
guys,
even think about it that way.
like, what are you doing? Yeah, like,
what do we need more of? We need more licensing. That's what we need.
yeah, like, you literally bought the top shelf game engines, and then like, nah, let's not use them. Even like you know, a lot of people give Starfield crap for being like Gamebryo still, right? Like, you can feel it, you know, creaking at the edges of whatever this game can do. And I'll agree that they have a lot to fix to do it, but I don't believe that. I mean, dude, Rich, you're still playing boomer shooters. There is, you know, people saying, oh, that game's too old and that's like out of date. And I'm like, that's bogus. That is such a weird thing to say, because people still play old games that have all of those old mechanisms, mechanics. People like those types of games. And if they want a Skyrim type of game, they're going to want that Gamebryo type of feel. So I don't think that they should get rid of Gamebryo. Like, if Bethesda's like, we're moving over to Unreal Engine 5, I'm just going to start flipping some tables. I'm like, I don't know what you guys are doing anymore. Just stop. Please. Goodness. Like, could you imagine, like, the next Doom is going to use Unreal Engine and they're not even id Tech? Like, I'll strangle someone. Like, you'll be dead and they'll be happy.
But Cary, what if it's good? What if they do and it turns out to be good?
Like, that's the thing, right? Like, hopefully that's the case. Fingers crossed it's good. I want it to be good. I think everyone here, we all want it to be great. I don't think any of us, like, I don't wish for it to be bad.
But Microsoft isn't sitting there, you know what? Let's switch over to Unreal Engine. It's going to suck. No, they're like, well, let's switch to Unreal Engine. It might make things easier for us.
Yeah, I could see, but it's all self-inflicted wounds. It's entirely their fault that they have to do this. It's 100% in their arena on why that they're doing this action. And
the only pushback I'll give to that, before I go back to waxing philosophical about engines, the only pushback I'll give to that is that, you know, what they should have, in my mind, what they should have done is keep Bungie, right? Like, when you're talking about this is their own fault, they should have kept Bungie. But however, the more years have gone on since they lost Bungie, the more Bungie is looking like, what are you doing, buddy?
Right. And, yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's really it. It's like, I don't know that there's like an easy, like, textbook answer to this. It seems like Bungie is difficult as well. They've been kind of bleeding their own development staff as well. So I don't know that there's an easy answer to this. But even just going back to the engine thing, like, taking Halo out of it, I do think we are losing something where we used to have renderware. We used to have a ton of engines, and engines are not, you can make your game however you want to, right? Like, in any engine that you want. But engines do have characteristics about them that lend themselves towards certain things that they just happen to be good at. And you could see that with Gamebryo, right? Like, you can see what that is good at and the things that it's not good at. And that just means that you have different people solving different problems, which means you have more variety in video games, I think.
So, I mean, here's my feeling on everyone moving to Unreal Engine 5. I'm sure that there's a lot of things there, but there's like some YouTuber that does like music and stuff, and he went through a short thing on how digital audio workstations were the worst thing to ever happen to the music industry. And he's like, you know, it used to be people could just play guitar, and how a person played a guitar, you can hear their finger going down a string. And in a DAW, like, people can just have a drum track. And they're like, oh, let me go into my DAW and go poop, poop, poop. And this is the drums that I have now. And the problem with that is that it sounds like that DAW. It sounds like that digital audio workstation. You no longer have the artist that's playing and how they play, and the cadence and everything else is lost. So it's like all of this kind of cookie cutter stuff that you just like, well, this song just starts to sound like everything else. So when we lose these engines, you lose a bit of the personality. Can Halo Studios make Unreal Engine 5 have the flavor of Halo? Oh, maybe. I don't know. That's a tall order. I hope they can do it, but there's like a whole, there's, I don't know. We can talk about this, right? And I'll just go in circles and just have circular reasoning here. I don't know. I hope.
Cary just passed us, like he lapped us, because we're going in circles. You're not wrong about that, man. All right, moving on. I am so excited about this next story, and that is Alien Isolation. We talked about waiting 8 years for the next Halo. Well, I've been waiting 10 years for the next Alien Isolation game, and it's finally getting a sequel. If this is my favorite horror game of all time, it is incredibly intense and immersive, and there's something that is special about playing through a horror game where you spend, I don't know, 20 hours playing this game. You cannot kill the alien. Like, you are being hunted by this thing and you cannot kill it. This game is amazing, and I cannot wait to get my hands on the next one. They posted this on Twitter. They said, "Today I'm delighted to confirm on behalf of the team that a sequel to Alien Isolation is in early development." So that means we're going to have to wait a while to play it. We look forward to sharing more details when we're ready. Rich, have you played Alien Isolation?
No, but I have lots of thoughts because, like, when Alien Isolation came out, I was a big fan of like the Waypoint podcast, but there were other like gaming podcasts, and I swear all of them were so enamored with Alien Isolation, and like it seemed life-changing, right? So this is definitely an opportunity for me to actually go back and actually play it. But I'm excited that this is not only coming, but like the same director, I want to say. Is that right?
Yeah, it's the same
studio?
director.
Yeah. So I'm really thankful for that. And I'm also thankful that we didn't get all these like starts and stops, right? Like it wasn't something that like, oh yeah, it's coming. We'll like Beyond Good and Evil 2, for example, where it's like, yeah, that thing has been a thing for years. So that makes this feel like it's actually happening, even though it's in early development. It makes it feel like, yeah, no, this is going to happen.
Russ, do not play this game. It's very scary, and I know you don't like scary games.
And, scary, as you were creepy. Describing it, you're like, yeah, and you can't kill the alien. It's amazing. And I'm thinking, okay, never gonna play it. Like you're like, it's so great, and I'm like, that sounds so bad. It's pretty funny. I've always had a fascination with this game, though. I think that it's just like, I love this idea, but the thing that, it's funny, it's not the part that you can't kill it that kind of turns me off. It's the idea that it adapts to you. Like I've heard that it's like a smart villain, and that's like, oh, I don't know if I'm smart enough. You know what I mean? That's what scares me about it.
Yeah, the way it works is if you like, because you got to hide from him. He comes into the room, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to hide underneath the table or whatever. There's I used to stream on Twitch all the time, and there's a clip where he walks into the room and I see it and I go, ooh, and then I just hide under the desk, and I'm just like, you could see how terrified I am on my face because it's such a scary moment. But if you tend to do the same thing every time that it comes into the room, he will start looking like I'm going to look under the tables for him. Or if you're hiding in the locker, then he'll come and sniff at the locker, and you have to like hold your breath or he will hear you. It's just a fantastic game from start to finish, but it's terrifying. And there's a lot of jump scares too, like loud, like there's an explosion and you're like, oh my God, that scared me. But it's awesome. Cary, have you played it?
No, I'm kind of with Russ in that I need to like be in a very specific mood to play scary games. Like, okay, I'm going to play a scary game. And they're few and far between. And like when I play scary games, like, man, you guys really did a good job making this scary game. I think one of like the last games that I played was Penumbra. What is the name of it? Yeah, that's like the first one. And it was such a fascinating take on like horror games. Like the idea was you were trying to escape this guy from getting you, right? And you have to open up doors. So you go up to a mouse and you mouse it open, and then you go back and you mouse it closed, and you're like running around and doing stuff. And one of the fascinating things that they did was if you look at the thing that's going to kill you, you go even more insane. So it's doing a bunch of screen shaking things, heartbeats, and all the other stuff. So what you have to do is look into a corner and listen to him like walk around you. And that's even more terrifying. This is like, that's the better case that you have to do, is so you don't go insane, look into a corner and not at him. And
that one's Amnesia, right? Amnesia, the
Amnesia,
Dark Descent.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that I never finished, and I was like, that game is too intense for me. And it's like, like, you get that thing of like, how am I going to get into it? It's a weird thing. Like, I'll play Resident Evils and not have that same feeling. I'll like, oh, okay, there's some, but like Resident Evil 7, I feel like it kind of went further into that realm. But other Resident Evils, while they were kind of scary, they had more of an Alone in the Dark feel in them. And Alone in the Dark, they give you a moment. You know, they give you moments to like, okay, let me collect myself here. Up until like Resident Evil 3 or whatever, the Nemesis, we're going to like crash through stuff. And you're like, oh no, I can't breathe. I have to run again. Yeah, I was always just like, in Resident Evil, it was like, oh, that thing is going to get me. And you just like, you know, press the door and it's like, slowly open the door, loading screen. They're like, phew, thank goodness that existed. If there's too much pressure on you and they don't give you a moment to just like, okay, I know he's gone. I got a moment here to recollect. If I don't feel like I get that enough, I like my spoopy game meter goes down, and I don't want to play them for a bit. So I did not play Alien Isolation, but I've heard fantastic things.
One of the really cool things about the game is when you go to save, there's like a panel on the wall. So you get to the save point and you got like a little card or whatever. You put the save card in. And normally when you go to save a game, it's just like, okay, saving your game. A little thing pops up or whatever. In this, you are still in the game and you can use your mouse to look left and look right, but you just have to face the wall because you're doing a thing. And you can't look away or you can't save, and it could be coming up behind you. And so you're doing this while you're saving, and it's like, oh my God, it's so intense. It's such a good game. Anyway, there's a new one, and I can't wait.
The thing with like this game versus that to me is like genuinely scary. Like they're pulling all those game mechanics out to make it harder, you know. Resident Evil to me is an inventory management game. Like it's just a game where you got to make sure you got enough bullets and enough herbs, and if you got those, I don't care. You know what I mean? But they don't give you enough. And that's what always screws me up about that game. But that's different. Alien Isolation is coming for you, like the player. I don't like that too much.
Well, it's coming, and who knows when it's coming for you, but when it does, I will be playing it. Rich, do you think you will be checking out the first one this spooky season?
Yes, I think so. I have it, and I've had it for years now, so I'll definitely check it out.
I can't wait to hear what you think of it.
Right.
There's a lot of people who have been asking for this game to come to PC for a really long time. I am not one of them because I don't really care for Rockstar games, but I'm happy for everybody else that is now getting Red Dead Redemption 1 coming to PC with a bunch of enhanced stuff. Are any of you guys Red Dead fans?
I played through this game on the 360, yeah.
Are you... Talk about why it's awesome and if you're interested in picking it up, Russ.
I'll start because I think Rich probably has a deeper knowledge than me. So I just played it because at the time it was like that was the big Xbox 360 game. You know, I kind of ran through everything at the time already. And so I kind of forced myself to play through it. I am also not a huge Rockstar fan. Like I don't like things that feel fetch questy. And there are moments to that just kind of feel like it's just quest upon quest upon quest, like GTA is, you know, and honestly, like how Halo Infinite is as well. And so those elements I don't really like. But I really did like the storytelling aspect of it. Like, I don't think it's a spoiler at this point, but like, you know, you get through a good portion of the game, finish the game, credits roll, and then there's like another third after that I didn't even realize. And so the game just keeps going and time jump and all that stuff. So that I really appreciated just from a storytelling perspective. And so I liked that. I never got into like the undead nightmare stuff and all that. But yeah, I enjoyed that, but I don't think I would want to sit through it again.
Rich?
Yeah, I think from like that nails it, right? Because when you guys say you don't like Rockstar, I love Rockstar up to a certain point. And it's not really the gameplay per se, like the gameplay of Grand Theft Auto games and Red Dead Redemption games. is mostly fine. Bully and the Warriors are similar, mostly fine. But they did a good job of two things. Number one, of storytelling, exactly like you said. But also, number two, of like allowing you to build your own story. So like GTA 5, like I had so many moments, and Red Dead Redemption also, so many moments where it was just like, oh, that was cool. And that happened, and I could go tell somebody that happened, and maybe the same thing happened to them, and maybe it didn't. And going now to like people, these game companies losing talent, I think a lot of that is lost now at Rockstar without like the Hauser brothers there. It's the Hauser brothers, right? Like those are the without them there, I feel like they've lost a lot of that. And now like the pricing of this port, I think, is indicative of like Rockstar and Take-Two today, right? Like, so this port is $50 on Steam, and it's like, is that really the right price for this game coming to PC? I don't think it is.
Yeah.
Is it enhanced? Like, is it like updated graphics, or is it just like the OG?
From what I've seen, there's the increased level of detail and other stuff. It was
Okay.
So Alex Battaglia, he made a joke saying Grassgate 3.0 with the PC version. If you may not know, the 360 version was superior to the PS3 version, and everyone was just like, it's superior because there's just more grass, and that was what it came down to. It's like, oh, so Grassgate was. That all came down to. But yes, so there is improvements to it, but like, I don't know, like if you have the 360 version, you have an Xbox, you can play the backwards compatible layer of it and do 4K 60, and that looks fantastic on an Xbox Series X. Like, looks crazy. Like, not for nothing, I have been playing through Red Dead Redemption on my Xbox Series X because of two reasons. Number one, it upscales and does everything for me, so the game looks great. But number two, Xbox Series X has a feature that really no one talks about a lot, and that's called Quick Resume. And when you could just hop right back into any point of a game without having to sit through logos and a bunch of other crap, that's awesome. And it's also awesome on 360 games. So I have like a few 360 games that I just have like in my Quick Resume hopper that I just like jump into. I literally just finished Back to the Future, the Telltale game, the 30th anniversary.
Nice.
Because I've been sitting on it for a while, but I had it sitting there, like the Quick Resume part. I was like, you know what? I'm going to finish this game. I did finish it just recently. But yeah, for Red Dead Redemption, I still have it there. I think the only problem that I have with Red Dead Redemption is like when I jump into it after not playing it for a while, my bearings on like what are all the controls are like way off. And I'm like, how do I lasso? How do I break out my lasso again? What do I do? How do I do this?
Yeah.
So like I'll like throw the lasso and get it, and like, oh, okay, I got him, and then I'll let go of the button, and the lasso goes away. I'm like, oh wait, I gotta hold that. So that's the only thing is like, yeah, I just have to put time into like an hour just to like reacclimate myself. But I think that, you know, what everyone else was saying, like what Rockstar does well is the little moments inside of their sandbox, not so much their main storyline quests, which are very, you know, Godfather, or they're very Sino. They're like that type of, they kind of like want to present themselves as a Scorsese, like, right? So that's what they always have done. And there's some things there, but whatever, kind of. But the little pieces that happen when people are just, you know, for a lot of people, it's like, oh, did you beat Grand Theft Auto 5? And they're like, beat? Like, this game ends? Rockstar is the reason that open world sandboxes have become so popular. When GTA 3 came out, that was the open world sandbox game to beat, and everyone was like, goodness gracious, we got to go do that. And we've had that a lot, but Rockstar still do it very well. And Red Dead Redemption is kind of like that. You know, you just be on a horse and you'll see people camping, and they'll just go up to them, and, you know, things happen. And there's no quest to it or anything. It's just in the moment, and that's where it really shines.
Emergent gameplay.
Yeah.
Yes, that is it.
So it is worth noting that
go ahead.
there's a PS4 version that came out last year of Red Dead Redemption. So it's basically the PC port of that, as far as I can tell, and just looking through it now. So it's got the Game of the Year content, which includes Undead Nightmare and all the other side stuff. And yeah, they charge $50 for it on PS4 as well right now. It's on sale for $35, but yeah, it's $50.
So if I go to GameStop and find an Xbox 360 version and I throw that in my Xbox Series X, it does all the upscaling. It doesn't have to be like a new version.
Yep, correct. Yeah, you just pop it in there.
Maybe I will do that, even though I'm not a fan of Rockstar games, just because I don't like the way they usually control. But nobody will shut up about Red Dead Redemption. They're always like, "It's so good, it's so good," and I never really gave it a chance because I didn't like Grand Theft Auto. So maybe I was wrong.
A quick anecdote, real quick. When I was in a blog and stuff, and I would go to like New York Comic Con and PAX East. I actually talked with some people because Rockstar would go to Comic Con in like 2013, whatever. And I talked to them. I was like, "Why do you guys still have controls like it's an old PlayStation 1 controller?" And they're like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Why am I hammering the X button to run? Like, I have an analog stick. I just push it further. Like, if I want to walk, I'll just push it a little bit less. Can you guys just make that button do something else, please? Like, why are you doing this?" And they were like, "Huh? No, we don't. No." I'm like, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
Good talk.
I messaged you guys behind the scenes that I've got to go soon, but I do want to point out, because we haven't mentioned it yet, Cary, have you seen the Game Pass news?
Which Game Pass news? It just happened?
It just happened. So Xbox Cloud Gaming is now going to support playing games you own. They're going to test it. Yeah, on the cloud.
That's big.
That's huge, right?
That's huge. Yeah, that is huge news.
The big question still is like, does this work with like backwards compatibility? Because it would be cool if I could play 360 games.
Yeah, so you can play 360 games. So you're kind of limited to whatever the Xbox Series X can play. But yes, you can play it on the cloud. So I played like Oblivion, the 360 version on the cloud.
That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
That's something I've been waiting for Microsoft to do for a really long time. Their cloud service is still the worst one that I've used.
Yes,
but that's
great.
really good news.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Go ahead.
No, I was saying that's really awesome.
Let's move on to the games that we've been playing. I finished Iron Meat. That game is awesome. Nice. If you have not played it, it's Contra mixed with Doom. It's incredibly fun. Go check it out. The other game that I've been playing is Pinball Spire, which is a action adventure game where you play as a pinball, just the ball, right? And basically you're in a room. You got to hit all the right things in order to unlock the door to the next room, and then you got to hit the pinball up through to the next room. And you also get powers, like I have one power where I can slow down time, and it costs mana. When you run into enemies, you get mana back, which is cool. And then the enemies are always respawning, so you can never run out of mana totally. You just got to keep playing pinball until you whack into somebody, then your mana bar fills back up. You can also... I also have a fire ability, so I can turn that on, and instead of bouncing off enemies, I'll go through them, and that's very important. So like if I need to go up to the next level up, I'll turn on the fire and go through a bunch of enemies, and then I turn it off when I'm above them, so that when the pinball falls back down, I bounce off of them instead of going through them. And I'm about 2 hours into it at this point, and it's really cool. I like it a lot, but I can see how some people could be really frustrated by you keep falling down, and you can fall all the way, like you can fall down quite a bit. And then you're like, I just got out of this goddamn room I've been in for 40 minutes and I fell back into the room that I just fell out of. And that could drive you bananas. So be ready for some frustration, but it's punctuated with moments of like, yes, I got it. And that's awesome. And I was playing it last night. My wife was sitting next to me and she was like, "Oh, this is pretty. I like this. This game is really cool looking." And it's a fun game. And it's currently, I think there's a demo, like Steam Next Fest is coming, and I think it's going to be on Steam Next Fest. Russ, you've been playing a game called Kato. What is that?
I think it's Kato, like a cat.
Kato, sorry.
So it's a mix between cat and toast. So the idea is so I should preface it by saying that with all the Nintendo stuff that happened with me, I got a couple DMs from like game developers who were like, "You can show my games anytime." and this is one of them. And so he even sent me like the code and everything. So I got this. Same thing with the Rugrats game developer. Like they contacted me, or like, hey, here's a game, just use this. And so that's what I used in my Switch game video that I did like earlier this week. I showed that game a bit. Anyway, so this one I've been messing around with. Initially, I was attracted to it because it kind of looks like a Celeste style platformer, like skill based, but it is not. It is a puzzle platformer. And the idea is that basically there's a piece of buttered toast and there's a cat, and you control both of them, and when they combine, like the buttered toast falls onto the cat, then the cat has extra abilities. So the buttered toast just kind of flips around, you throw it on the cat, and now the cat can jump, basically,
because buttered toast always lands buttered side down and cats always land on their feet.
Yeah, I think that's what.
Oh my god, I'm
so
freaking sold.
When you put them together and you hit the jump button, it just kind of spins. You can kind of infinite spin your cat up wherever you need to. But there are elements to it that like so there are times when you can't get the cat through when the toast's on it, and so you have to figure out how to get the cat through. It's like, so it's puzzly, but kind of platformy, but it is screen by screen like Celeste, and so you got to get through that next screen to get to the next one, kind of thing. So it's fun, and then it's like over 200 levels or something. I probably played the first 20 of them, but yeah, I really enjoyed it, and it's like a $10 game, and they are working on mobile ports, so it should be on iPhone and Android at some point as well. And so yeah, I've just been enjoying that game just to kind of test it out, and I've got some videos coming out where I'm gonna showcase that one as well. And then I went back and started playing Tales of Symphonia on the GameCube. So this was like a role-playing game that I really liked, cel-shaded and just really nice looking. And so I have that Retroid Pocket Mini that I just reviewed, and that one can play, 2x upscale is basically perfect for that screen, and the game looks amazing at a 2x upscale. And so I've been playing that a bit. There's like remastered versions of the game on Switch and stuff, but those are all like 30 frames per second, I think, whereas the original is 60. And so it's been a really good experience, other than it's just kind of GameCube era, so it's a little slow to get through the dialogue, but otherwise it's been great. One thing I've been doing is plugging my like X-Real glasses into my Retroid Pocket, and then just kind of like laying back and enjoying it that way. And then of course when I'm on the go, I can play it in OLED, which is amazing too. So I've been enjoying that. It's an action. It's a mix between turn-based and action role-playing game, because when you hit an enemy and you get into a battle, it becomes an action role-playing game. Like you can run away from the guy and then go and hit them, So it's almost like Diablo, where it's like this mix of like, if you're quick on the draw, you can maybe hit them before they hit you, kind of thing. But it also just feels very JRPG as well. And so, yeah, it's a good game.
Very cool. Speaking of Diablo, Cary?
Yeah, so the Vessel of Hatred came out. I still haven't bought it. I just like picked it up to play again. And all of my loot is like legacy, and I can't upgrade it anymore, so I have to get like new stuff. I'm being like picky and choosy with what I'm doing. But as I'm playing, I'm just going through it and playing and enjoying it again. I guess Rich had to just leave us. But yeah, so the Vessel of Hatred is really cool. I have not bought it yet, but I've seen people playing the new Spiritborn class, and it almost resembles if Diablo, like the Blizzard developers, are like, Vampire Survivors is really cool. What if we did the same thing? And you can have this just like giganto blasty McGig guy that's just running around killing tons of horde characters, and just seeing like numbers pop up, like the damage that you do. There's like a video I saw, and I'm like, man, that looks awesome. Like I wanna do that, but I was like hovering on it. I got like a 10% off for like Game Pass or whatever. I was like, I don't know. I'll wait, because I'm just playing my Barbarian still, and there's things that I have yet to unlock. So I'm kind of going through it and not sure if I want to invest in it yet, just because I don't know how much time I'm gonna have, and it's already sucked a lot of my time away. But yeah, so far there's a lot of changes that Diablo that have been made on Diablo from Blizzard that I really enjoy. And the other thing that I played that I completed that I've been putting off for like years now is Back to the Future, the Telltale game, the 30th anniversary version. And the kid that they got to do Michael J. Fox's voice is so good. They have Christopher Lloyd doing reprising Brown, and Michael J. Fox in the 30th anniversary actually does do some voice work at the end of the game that they added into the game later on, which is really cool. And so I was just playing through it. It's a Telltale game. I love point and click adventure games, so I still played it, but I have a big love for Back to the Future. If you don't really like Back to the Future, I don't think you're gonna like this game that much, because it's kind of leaning a lot on a lot of Back to the Future tropes. to kind of make you smile and appreciate it. I enjoyed it for what it was worth. There were some parts that just kind of dragged on, but I just wanted to, complete it. There's lots of things that were there. I'm glad I did beat it, and I got 1,000 of 1,000 of it on Xbox because they gave it away for Games with Gold, like 7 years ago or whatever. So I've owned it for free, and there's no reason to buy it elsewhere. So that's where I played it and beat it.
Have you guys seen the documentary about Michael J. Fox?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so freaking good. If you haven't seen it, Russ, you should watch it. It's amazing.
Okay.
It's just about his fight with Parkinson's when he was going through it. We found out about it much after, like, he was dealing with it for a long time before we found out about it, and it's kind of a tearjerker. It's intense. It's a really, really great documentary.
It is good, yeah.
Yeah, that game though is very cool, and I ended up at some point I was playing it and I got stuck, and I couldn't. It always happens to me with point and click adventures. I get a point and click adventure and I see it, and I'm like, this is the time. This is the one that's gonna work for me. I'm gonna be able to figure out the puzzles, and every single time I get to a point and I'm like, oh man, I don't remember. I can't figure out what I'm supposed to do, and then I give up because I get frustrated. Are you a point and click guy, Russ?
No, I same thing. Like, I've gotten stuck in so many point and click games, even back in like King's Quest and stuff. Playing it at a friend's house is just like, just a little beyond me, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we're just about out of time. Before we go, Russ, tell us about either your next video or your last video.
I just did a video about my most favorite, like, tiny devices, the ones that are like easily pocketable and stuff like that. As far as next video, I'm working on a mini PC from B-Link that has like a dock attachment, and then you can throw your GPU on it, and it's all kind of seamless and honestly a lot cleaner than the other things that I've done before. And so I'm looking forward to that. That'll come out this weekend, and then I don't know after that what's going to be coming out. We'll see.
What about you, Cary?
So I also have the B-Link Foxbox as well, which they inverted. Then they're like, no, totally different. You have the GPU in the front. We have it in the back. But
you thought it was your idea.
Yeah, very nice try. I'm working on a GPD Duo video that I've been just like in the weeds with, and I'm having so much fun just tweaking it every which way because it's like wide open. So on Strix Point, I could like literally disable every core except one P core. I can do like 2 P cores, 4 E cores, and just like fooling around and seeing where its sweet spot is all over the place. And it's a lot of fun. It's just a lot of data that I'm capturing. So this is probably going to be a super long video and heavy, like a very heavy video. So hopefully next week I'm going to have that finished up, but it's been why I don't have any video out right now. Just been working on that nonstop.
Bob Wolf just put out his third third sequel of the OLED, the OLED Switch and the OLED Steam Deck. And he mentioned you in his video saying that you had one coming. Are you still working on that, or is that one out yet? I haven't seen it.
I actually should try, because it's like literally right behind me, still running. It looks awful. My OLED is destroyed. So it's a good video insofar as showing you like the concern that you should have if you're just pushing HDR at max brightness all the time in any game that is going to have HUD elements that would be displaying it HDR at any length of time. More to the point, it's probably as a cautionary tale to people that have the Mango HUD thing up all the time on Steam Deck, because that is stationary imagery that stays in the same place at all times. Now,
on every game.
Yeah. So it's literally in the same place, typically where you're going to have it. So that is like the takeaway from it is there's a few things to talk about. Mango HUD is only ever presented as SDR, even if HDR is underneath it. So it will never be HDR, which is a positive. But that is basically the only worry, because I do have SDR content and HDR content. So you can see the difference of like how much that actually impacts on the display itself, and how the OLED pixels lose their luminance after being on for so long in a specific configuration. So I could probably whip out that video fast. Maybe I can get that done for tomorrow, especially just because it would be better to, because Bob just had his video out. So maybe I'll just do that tonight and just do it. But I'm going to have to preface it with like a lot of like sass, like, because there's going to be people like, well, just don't do that. Have you considered not having the same thing on your screen all the time. And I want to show the video of like where Valve is testing the Steam Deck, and they have it in a drop machine where it just keeps on dropping it for thousands at a time. Like, hey, did you tell Valve that, hey, Valve, just don't drop it all the time? Did you tell them that? No, you didn't, because they were testing durability, and that's what I'm doing.
I'll clip that out and I'll send it to you so that you can just put that in the middle of, because you nailed it. You absolutely nailed it. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us here at the NerdNest podcast. You guys could have been anywhere. You hung out with us longer than Rich did. So everybody leave a comment down below that says goodbye to Rich, because he's not here to defend himself. And I don't know about you guys, but probably not going to rewatch a conversation that he was in. So he won't even know what that's all about. So we're just going to have a little bit of fun at his expense. He had to go. I hope that you all have an awesome day. And from the NerdNest, stay rad, everybody. Bye-bye.